Welcome to Xhibition, an Xbox podcast, episode number 42. My name is Samuel Adams, and this is a weekly show dedicated entirely to the world of Xbox, bringing you everything you need to know to keep yourself in the loop. So if you enjoy the show and you like what you see or what you hear, you can subscribe on YouTube or a podcast platform of your choice and get the show automatically delivered to you each and every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I'd love to see you there. But this week we saw a huge announcement with a new ID at Xbox showcase coming on March the 16th that digs into some of the biggest indies coming out for Xbox during this spring season. We're talking about TUNIC, we're talking about Shredders, plenty of good stuff to dig into later this week, so we'll be sharing more in the announcement review in just a couple of moments. On top of that, Microsoft was the top publisher on Metacritic in 2021. Some pretty fantastic news there. Steam Deck has gotten a couple of updates through collaborations with Xbox and Valve that have brought some of the top Xbox games to the platform. We'll talk more about those and what ones we hope to see in the future. And on top of that, some new sustainability effort updates from the team at Xbox show just how much you can save in terms of pollution, in terms of energy, through using Xbox products. Very cool stuff to dig into there to round off today's show. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. The ID at Xbox Showcase is returning once again, this time on March the 16th at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. And before we dive into the announcement itself, I just want to take a couple of moments to talk about why indie gaming on Xbox is so important right now. And as many other shows have pointed out, and really anybody that can look at a release calendar can point out, the playing field at Xbox this year in terms of what games they're bringing to the table to compete with Nintendo and to compete with PlayStation is looking pretty thin. I mean, we're talking about pretty much Redfall and Starfield. Both of those just kind of have a release time frame, no real dates. I wouldn't be surprised if either of those got pushed by a significant margin. And so whenever you're considering that, it's important to have other experiences there to kind of bolster the experience for players. And I look to games like TUNIC, I look to games like Trek to Yomi, where you have these big indie games that are coming out that are going to be filling that gap. Now, the other key element here is Game Pass, where I can dive in to games like Far Changing Tides, as I did last weekend, and enjoy something that I might not have thrown that $20 at initially, but that I eventually fall in love with just because I have access to it. So I'm looking forward to this, not only because they will be showcasing so many amazing independent games, but we'll be seeing really what some of the biggest Xbox games are going to be in the summer and spring seasons ahead, just because there are no big monumental releases. And I don't mean for that to sound negative, because I think that we can all get caught up in the Forzas and in the Halos. I've talked about them a ton on this show, but some of the best gaming experiences that I have had in the past 5 years or so have been these smaller independent games. You know, I love the big AAA experiences that we get, but the creativity and the passion that comes from some of these smaller independent creators is something that can't really be matched often by the big publishers or the big development teams. And so with that being said, let's dive into the official announcement over on news.xbox.com from Jessica Ronald, ID at Xbox Events Manager. Quote, "Here we are almost 1 year since our very first ID at Xbox and Twitch Gaming showcase. We've had the pleasure of working with Twitch Gaming and putting together some incredible showcases since then, and guess what? We are nowhere near done. ID at Xbox and Twitch Gaming will be coming together once again to showcase updates and new announcements of amazing games coming to Xbox from independent developers. Catch the show on Wednesday, March 16th at 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. We'll be featuring updates, new trailers, and gameplay from Finji and Whitethorn, as well as the first game from IM8-Bit's brand new publishing label. In addition to all of this, fans will also get a chance to see the latest and hear from teams working on Shredders, Roblox, and some new games that you need to tune in for to see. You can watch the ID at Xbox Showcase exclusively on Twitch at twitch.tv/twitchgaming or twitch.tv/Xbox. For all of you Twitch streamers, this event is open to co-streaming, and you can find directions on how to do just that via the link in the post itself. But once again, looking forward to learning more about these games. Two that I am in particular looking forward to are TUNIC, which I will be sharing thoughts on later this week. I've had the chance to dive into that one, and on top of that, I am very much so looking forward to Shredders because for me, when I see Shredders, it takes away some of that pomp and circumstance from SSX or from Riders Republic, and it really does boil it down to what looks to be a very straightforward snowboarding game. And I think that when it comes to the high-octane, thrill-seeking kind of tone that a lot of these extreme sporting games can bring, sometimes I just want to cruise down a mountain. I mean, that's why people enjoy snowboarding as a sport itself. And so Shredders is really kind of evoking that kind of simplistic, sports-focused nature rather than on the high-octane bro culture that so many of these kind of sports can often bring. But what I'm looking forward to is seeing how people are flocking to Xbox and bringing their ideas to the platform. Because, whenever we had the Summer of Arcade back in the Xbox 360, that's where we saw games like Super Meat Boy come to fruition in the console space. And so I want this ID at Xbox Showcase event and these ID at Xbox Showcase events, plural, across the board, to kind of really bring a new life that PlayStation kind of took during the PlayStation 4 generation, where that was where indies really grew and thrived. I want Xbox to regain that position as the place to grow your game and to release your game, and I think Game Pass is a great option for that. I can say personally 100% that I have played more indie games on Xbox because of the fact that I have access to them through Game Pass. I would love to support more indies, but throwing 5, 10, 20, 25, 30 bucks at a smaller game every time one comes out that I want to play is not sustainable for everybody, including myself. And so to be able to have that subscription that gives access to some of these games is very nice. What I see online, though, and this is something that I want to mention here, is that with a game like Tunic, for instance, it looks gorgeous. The trailers showcase something that is very unique. It feels very familiar, but it's also bringing something that is entirely its own. So many of the comments are, when will it come to Game Pass? Are you guys launching on Game Pass? And even now, it very well could. But Game Pass should not be a part of the conversation until developers make it a part of the conversation. Games still earn the respect of players, and they still earn those day one dollars if you do want to pick it up on day one, whether you're on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, or Switch. It deserves to give the attention, or to get the attention, regardless of whether or not it's on Game Pass. And to some degree, I think the Game Pass can often kind of muddy the waters when it comes to discoverability. If a smaller indie launches on Game Pass alongside something like Guardians of the Galaxy, I might not necessarily look at that one on day one, but it will probably end up propelling it into new heights that it wouldn't have reached had it not been included in the subscription. Either way, tune in on Wednesday, March 16th, 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time over on twitch.tv/twitchgaming and see what's new at ID at Xbox coming out in the months ahead. Next up, Microsoft was Metacritic's highest rated publisher in 2021 with the largest average score ever. Now, this is something that was reported on by Metacritic. I'm picking up the story from VGC's Chris Scullion, who writes that 10 products published by Xbox Game Studios were reviewed in 2021, 5 games released over various formats, and the average Metascore was 87.4. This is not only the number one publisher for 2021, but according to Metacritic, this marks the first time a publisher has ever averaged over 85 Metascore in a year since its annual ranking started 12 years ago. That is very, very impressive. And looking back over the year that Microsoft had for 2021, I mean, we're talking about Psychonauts 2, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5. These are some very, very big notable games, many of which won awards, and many of which continue to grow and thrive as live service games. I mean, I look at Forza Horizon 5, and while it had some issues at launch, as any game does these days, it has continued to provide value, and we'll mention it here in a couple of minutes on the Xbox Sustainability Update. It is also a bigger part of Microsoft's vision of how they talk and connect with the consumers. But then you have a game like Halo Infinite that delivered fantastic multiplayer at launch, began to fall off, but now we have Season 2 on the way, new content updates, new playlists. They continue to provide value. And then you have games like Psychonauts 2 that kind of exist in their own realm. Double Fine has created, once again, a fantastic adventure packed with unique ideas from the mind of Tim Schafer. And so I think that what you see here is Microsoft beginning to deliver on that promise of delivering more games for players, delivering unique experiences that can only be had in the Xbox ecosystem. Now, console warring aside, Microsoft did beat out Sony, which had an 81.3 average. Then you had Humble Games, Activision Blizzard, Bethesda Softworks, Capcom, and the list goes on. But no matter how you cut it, very impressive here to see that Microsoft is really beginning to make a name for itself. I do want to mention here, this is not going to be something that I think you see once again in 2022. I think that you're going to have fewer games published under Microsoft from what I'm perceiving here. Now, of course, there could be smaller games that we don't know about yet that are Microsoft published, but when it comes to your big Halo Infinites, your Forza Horizons, those don't really have a lineup for 2022 in the same way that they did in 2021. I don't think Redfall is going to be one of those. It could be an 80 to 90. I don't think it's going to be a 90 plus. It could hit that average. Starfield, I think, is going to be very good. But outside of that, nothing is confirmed right now. There are just fewer confirmed projects in the works. So that does present an issue here. But no matter how you cut it, Microsoft is making an investment in winning that highest rated publisher in 2021. Certainly shows that investment is beginning to pay off. And of course, for players like me and for you, that just means more good games coming our way. So it's a win-win all around. Next up, we have a general mention here that I wanted to include in the show. Halo Infinite's ranked experience has gotten a closer look over on HaloWaypoint.com, and if you want to learn more about this one, I would recommend heading over there and checking it out for yourself, just because they really do go in depth when it comes to how the rank is built and how it impacts the overall player experience. What I wanted to jump down to here is the ranked rewards. Now, of course, as we all know, cosmetics are a very big deal in Halo Infinite. It's kind of what you either buy through credits or you earn through in-game gameplay, through the battle pass, through the free progression system. No matter how you play, the cosmetics are really the bread and butter of what keep people tuned into the game. And so underneath ranked rewards, it writes, as players complete their placement matches and progress through each CSR rank in Halo Infinite, they will unlock new rewards. In Season 1, each player will get their rank icon as an emblem that they can use on their weapons, and players who find their way to Onyx will receive an additional item, the Recon Weapon Charm. And then they go into the nuts and bolts of True Skill 2, which is the new system that is used to rank matches within Halo Infinite. And once again, you can dig into CSR, MMR, all of the details here. But ranked is looking pretty good. I must admit, after reading through this, I'm excited to dive into some ranked matches, and I will admit that as a Halo player who does not have time to play all of the time, it's nice to be able to get in some social matches as well, just kind of enjoy that casual nature. But ranked is getting some improvements. We talked in depth about what's coming in Season 2 next week and some of the frustrations with how slow content has been to roll out, and even with Season 2 coming. We're looking at 2 new maps, one for Arena, one for BTB. Not really what I had wanted or what I had expected, but nonetheless, it's what we're getting from 343. That priority 0, being able to hit a good work-life balance for the team, should be first and foremost, as it is. But if you're a fan of ranked, some pretty good news coming your way. It looks like they're starting to iron things out. A bit of transparency is always good, because I know a ton of people that have been complaining about how there's no way to really tell how you're doing in Halo Infinite. So it looks like they are moving in the right direction in terms of transparency and communication. Speaking of Xbox published games, Xbox Game Studios has released a Steam Deck update over on the Steam store that reads, "Here at XGS, we love gaming and think people should be able to play our games as freely and easily as possible, anytime, any place, sharing incredible experiences with friends or immersing themselves in solo adventures. It's up to our studios how they fit Steam Deck integration for their games into their busy schedules, and with a lot of great stuff already in the works, some titles may take longer. We've put together this list so you can see how our titles are coming along. So this is going to be something that evolves over time and grows as more games do offer support. But so far, on Valve's newest piece of hardware, verified for Steam Deck, you have Psychonauts 2, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, Battletoads, Max: The Curse of Brotherhood, Sea of Thieves, Forza Horizon 5, Forza Horizon 4, Quantum Break, and State of Decay Year 1 Survival Edition. Unsupported due to anti-cheat, you have Gears 5, Halo, Master Chief Collection, and Halo Infinite, and Microsoft Flight Simulator X. First and foremost, love the update, love the transparency, and I love the fact that they are officially confirming that support is happening where their teams can provide support. It would be very easy for Xbox to turn a blind eye to the Steam Deck and to force all of their individual studios to only release games via cloud gaming as part of their mobile initiative. But that's not how Xbox is doing things in 2022. They're really focusing on meeting the player where they are and delivering these experiences no matter where they're playing. Now, what I do want to point out is that some of these are verified, some of these are playable. So the playable ones are Sea of Thieves, Forza Horizon 5 and 4, Quantum Break, and State of Decay. That means they are not officially verified, but they do in fact work. So with all of that being taken into consideration, I would love to see more of these games baked into the Steam Deck. I'm talking about things like potentially figuring out some way to bring Halo MCC and Halo Infinite to the Steam Deck. I think that's super important, just because a lot of people are promoting this piece of hardware right now, and it would be good to see some of these big games. I mean, we're talking about the entire Halo franchise brought over to the Steam Deck, where it is effectively a handheld gaming PC, and a good one at that. So to be able to play Halo 2 and Halo 3 officially on the Steam Deck would be nice. I will also say, I've seen plenty of videos online of Halo running on the Steam Deck. It's one of those things where it can be cracked, can be modified, but you do that at your own risk. Being able to play certified list or certified games on this list is really the safest way to do so. I know that Bungie has been very strict about Steam Deck compatibility, saying that anybody playing on the Steam Deck would be banned. I believe I saw that online floating around because of that anti-cheat restriction, because of the way that Steam Deck is supporting some of these games. It's not officially on Windows, so you can't run better anti-cheat, that kind of thing. I digress. This support is good to see, hope to see more in the future, but people are loving the Steam Deck, and it's not something that's really designed for me. I have a Switch OLED that I've been playing on over the course of the past few weeks, and I enjoy that deeply. But in terms of PC gaming, if I'm playing on PC, I'll take my gaming PC. Traditionally, I'm going to stick to an Xbox Series X or an S. But regardless, good to see the support coming for those that do enjoy this. And again, plenty of people are playing it right now, but on top of that, plenty of new shipments are coming out in Q2 and Q3 to keep this kind of conversation going throughout the year. So hopefully by the time many of these units arrive in Q3, you'll be seeing a lot more games supported officially from the team at Xbox. Now moving on to an update on Xbox sustainability efforts. This comes from the Xbox Wire, specifically from Dave McCarthy, the corporate VP of Xbox Operations, who digs into the sustainability efforts from the company in a very in-depth way. I mean, we're talking about everything from the way that software is run to hardware to cloud gaming. Plenty of stuff to work through here, but I do want to hit the summary bullet points here just to kind of keep things brief. Today, we'd like to share an update on how we're progressing towards our commitments of being carbon negative, water positive, and zero waste by 2030. By 2030, we will design Xbox products and accessories and all Microsoft product packaging to be 100% recyclable in Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development countries. Last year, we made improvements to the console's Energy Saver Sleep mode. Energy Saver mode now consumes about 20 times less power than standby mode when the console is not being used or receiving updates. Now, system and game updates can be downloaded during Energy Saver mode, further saving energy. We've also revisited the materials we use in our products by incorporating post-consumer recycled resins in Xbox Series S and our controllers. And of course, for more information on what they're doing, you can check out the xbox.com/sustainability hub for all of the information you need to know. So what's interesting here is that hardware and the sustainability of hardware has become an increasing focus for Xbox over the course of the past few years. Since the Xbox Series X and S launched, they have revitalized how these products are put out, and they write Xbox Series X and S consoles were recently assessed to be 97% recyclable in OECD countries based on UL 2789 Environmental Claim Validation Procedure, which is the standardized metric for measuring electronic product recyclability by material type, which is in short, a way to say the majority of these consoles is in fact created using recyclable products. Now, on top of that, they talk more about how controllers like Daystrike Camo and Electric Volt have been using PCR resins. They also talk about how Xbox Design Labs was brought back with 15 new colors that used PCR resins as well. And so all of these elements and more show that Xbox is focused on creating a more sustainable way to play. And I think that's very important. And I think it's something that is easy to gloss over when you're picking a console or when you're thinking about how you play or even the games you play. The focus is so often on the games and getting to them that you often don't think about how we are actually accessing these games and playing them. And so what I love about this post is that the energy saver mode, for instance, is something that you can enable and forget about. None of these are detrimental to the player experience. So often when it comes to recycling or sustainability, it's easy to tie these things to efforts that have to be put in. I have to recycle these things. I have to take this specific item to a specific place to have it recycled appropriately. It takes effort, but this is relatively effortless. You just continue playing your games. They get downloaded now automatically in energy saver mode. And on top of that, you keep buying controllers, you keep buying gift cards, and now it's just a more sustainable way to play. I think that's very cool, just because no effort is required, which makes it a no-brainer. If it takes nothing from you, then it automatically happens. So, with sustainability in mind going into the months of March and April, spring ahead, Earth Day on the way, I think this is a fantastic update to share. And again, if you do want to dive into all of the intricacies, it's very interesting to learn more about how Xbox is shaping its products and its service offering around the idea of sustainability. Now, in terms of cloud gaming, I did want to call this out, where the author writes, "We're exploring how we can reduce the environmental impact of our Xbox cloud gaming offering. Since most power usage occurs during gameplay, cloud gaming can take advantage of Azure's significant renewable energy investments. By 2025, Azure data centers will shift to 100% supply of renewable energy, so cloud gaming can leverage this clean energy transition. Our custom-designed Xbox server hardware is based on the same power-efficient architecture as our consoles, so also using this hardware in our cloud environment allows us to reach hundreds more players per server over its lifetime." So in short, same hardware being used, same benefits, but Azure is also going to be doing some energy saving there. All in all, very cool update. I thought it was a great read, and if you do want to check it out, again, up on the Xbox Wire. Speaking of cloud gaming, let's round out today's show with a talk on Nvidia's GeForce Now subscription, because I see people talking about Amazon Luna and Google Stadia, and they aren't taking those as real threats to the situation. Now, Google is supposed to be announcing some updates that make streaming Windows games through Google Stadia more of an option this coming week, so we'll see what happens there. But in terms of Nvidia's GeForce Now, their RTX 3080 tier is now available monthly for $19.99. You no longer have to sign up for 6 months. This comes from Tom Warren over at The Verge, who writes, "Nvidia is making its top GeForce Now RTX 3080 membership tier available on a monthly basis. The service, which uses RTX 3080 level hardware to stream games from Steam or the Epic Games Store, will now be available for $19.99 per month. That means you can try out the top RTX 3080 tier for a month instead of signing up to the service for 6 months. The RTX 3080 tier is one of the best streaming services available right now, thanks to its improved latency and support for ray tracing and 120 FPS. You can stream at up to 1440p resolution with 120 frames per second on PCs and Macs, and 4K HDR at 60 FPS on Nvidia's Shield TV. Nvidia still continues to offer 6-month memberships for $99, which works out to around $16.66 per month, or a savings of $19.95. So what I want to talk about here is the fact that this is beginning to become a more appealing option for those that might already have an existing catalog on PC. I have not tried this firsthand, but from what I understand, you log in with your Steam or your Epic Games accounts, and you automatically just stream those experiences to your device of choice, whether it be a laptop or something else. This is something that makes gaming anywhere much more accessible. And the quality is what I would like to point out, is that for $19.99 per month, you can stream at 1440p 120, or you can do 4K 60 on an Nvidia Shield TV. Those are very appealing metrics. The price point is a bit higher than I would like to see just because the games that you're playing are not included in the subscription. You're just buying the experience itself. But this shows competitivity, or competitiveness, I suppose would be the proper word. But this shows that more companies are bringing something to the table that Microsoft has to compete with. And I know we've been talking about it for months, but a streaming tier of Game Pass is a necessity right now. And if you can undercut $19.99 by even $10 and make it $9.99 per month like any traditional Game Pass subscription, or in my opinion, maybe even $7.99 or $4.99, get it down as low as you can go and get more people in the ecosystem, that's where the sweet spot's going to be. Right now, I don't know that Microsoft can deliver that 1440p experience. I know they've recently upgraded to 1080p, if I remember correctly, which is nice, but if you're upscaling on a 4K TV, it doesn't look that hot, and again, you want that solid experience. I would love to see an improvement in the fidelity of the actual gameplay itself. Give me 1440. Give me 4K, all of that good stuff. So we'll see what happens, but my point here is that between the impending Google news that I think we'll see this week, and on top of that, Nvidia bringing out this more affordable monthly tier, I think that's where you're starting to see more of this competition heat up and the cloud space really beginning to get hot. So stay tuned. I'm looking forward to the improvements that come to these experiences because Xbox Cloud Gaming is still not perfect today. I know that a ton of games have gotten touch support. I know that a ton of games have come to the service, and more, it seems like Game Pass games are pretty much added to the service by default. But even at that, you still have to deliver something that I want to play, and I have to have a solid internet connection to do it. So depending on what company can hit the needs of the consumer the best, that's really what the winner is going to be. So I'm looking forward to seeing this side of the console war or platform war really begin to heat up, and competition breeds competitivity, I suppose, if we want to go back to the word we were using. But competition's always good because it brings new ideas, new experiences, and improves the overall playing experience for the gamer themselves. That wraps up this week's episode of Xhibition, an Xbox podcast. If you enjoyed the show and you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube or on a podcast platform of your choice, and keep coming back each and every Sunday for a brand new episode of the show. I would love to see you there. And in the comment section down below, let me know what indies you are looking forward to playing in the months ahead, or even better, what you're looking forward to hearing more about at this week's ID at Xbox showcase over on Twitch Gaming on twitch.tv. Would love to hear what you guys are looking forward to so I can add a couple of those to my personal wish list as well. But until next time, you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. I'll talk to you soon, and keep on playing.